Hi everybody, it's Sean and Catherine here with Monorail Central. Today we are going to be discussing our recent lunch experience at Tony's Town Square restaurant at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom.
Tony's is located on Main Street, USA, and it is themed to the restaurant where Lady and Tramp had their first kiss in the 1955 animated classic Lady and the Tramp.
Tony's Town Square restaurant offers a 10% discount to Disney Vacation Club members and annual pass holders, and if you're using the Disney dining plan, it costs 1 table service credit per person. Tony's kind of has a reputation of being a not-so-great restaurant. However, recently I have seen multiple reviews that have given it some sort of praise for its food quality, something that it had sorely lacked within the last decade. It's a restaurant that I would try to avoid at all costs, but because I have heard so many good things about it within the last year, I decided we were going to go ahead and give it a try with an open mind. To start off our experience at Tony's Town Square restaurant, we decided to share Tony's garlic bread for the table, which was a toasted ciabatta bread with roasted garlic butter and a Parmesan fonduta. Now, unlike your traditional bread services at Walt Disney World, you had to pay for this. This was technically considered an appetizer. The garlic bread was $13. And for just 2 people, it was a little much and way overpriced. The garlic bread for the table comes in one size fits all, regardless of how many people are at your table. It's 8 pre-cut toasted ciabatta sticks with roasted garlic butter, and it comes with a little carafe of this Parmesan fonduta. It was a lot for 2 people.
The garlic bread was really good. I really enjoyed it. I loved the garlic butter that they put on the ciabatta, and then I really liked the experience of pouring the Parmesan on top of the garlic bread. It was very easy to have the first couple pieces of garlic bread on top be covered in cheese and not have that much at the end, so I would say don't pour the entire carafe onto your garlic bread, which we did, and then at the end we were just eating kind of dry garlic butter ciabatta sticks. But it was pretty good. Little on the steep side for a bread service, especially for 2 people, because we didn't eat all of the bread. But if there had been like 5 or 6 of us, definitely I think it would have been worth it.
The garlic bread and the Parmesan sauce was really good. It's definitely very different from garlic breads that you would typically get in an Italian restaurant. $13 though, not in. I would not spend $13 on this again. $5 or $6 for this bread service, 100%. 13, absolutely not.
For my appetizer, I had the fried mozzarella, which was served with a spicy, creamy tomato sauce, and this was $15, but I think this was worth $15.
100%.
For the serving size, which was 2 giant mozzarella logs, they were served warm. Not warm, they were served hot.
They were piping hot.
Piping hot. The one on top that's kind of cut open so it has the presentation factor did get a little cold on the inside. I did enjoy it, and I think we ate maybe 1 full log, 1.5 between the 2 of us.
1.5. And don't let the image fool you. These mozzarella logs were like a good 10 to 12 inches long. They were huge. Definitely not something I was expecting from Tony's. I was expecting something more like your traditional mozzarella sticks, or like a little flat piece of mozzarella that's breaded and fried, but 100% worth the $15 that we paid for it.
And it says it's served with a spicy, creamy tomato sauce. It had a little kick to it, but it wasn't spicy to the point where it was unbearable to eat.
If you had told me that it was supposed to be spicy, I would have said, what are you talking about? Because this tasted more like a traditional vodka sauce than it did a tomato sauce to me, which honestly paired really well with the fried mozzarella.
I think that was mostly because it was a cream-based tomato sauce, and then you had the cheese that was on top of the mozzarella logs and the one that was cut open, so it was very creamy, really good. I would definitely go back just for this.
If Tony's had a quick service counter with these mozzarella logs, you would not be able to pull me out of line for it. These were superb. And then for my appetizer, I opted to go for the seasonal soup, which on our day was a Tuscan white bean and kale soup served with breadcrumbs. This was $9, and for a Disney soup, this was pretty good and flavorful. I'm not the kind of person to really let the heat dictate whether or not I'm going to eat soup on a hot day. I will eat hot lobster bisque when it's 110 degrees out. because I like myself some soup. Now, we were seated in an outdoor area of the restaurant. There's a couple of them at Tony's. This one was kind of partially indoors and partially outdoors.
Like a greenhouse.
Yeah, kind of similar to a greenhouse. You'll see in the footage that I'm overlaying right here. And it was a hot day at Magic Kingdom. This didn't bother me at all. This didn't sit. This wasn't really heavy.
Me, on the other hand, I do not eat soup when it's hot unless it is lobster bisque. That is probably the only soup that I will eat when it is hot. It looked pretty good. I would try it definitely when it's not so hot.
If the seasonal soup when you're visiting is Tuscan white bean and kale soup, I 100% recommend it.
For my entree, I chose to get the Fettuccini Alfredo, which is served with the choice of roasted chicken or shrimp. I chose to go with the shrimp, and this was $28. I definitely think that this was worth it. It was a really good dish. The shrimp were a little bit overcooked, but not by much. They were just a tad overcooked, if you will. They weren't very overcooked, they weren't burnt, they weren't inedible. They were just a tad bit overdone. The Parmesan cream sauce was really good. It coated all of the fettuccine nicely. I have noticed that some places it'll kind of sit on top of your pasta and it won't cover each noodle. It was very obvious that they were tossed all together in the sauce. I will say, however, that the pasta was just a little bit overcooked, which I notice is a theme with this dish. It wasn't very overcooked. There were some pieces that were undercooked too, so it was a very odd combination of both overcooked and undercooked pasta. It didn't detract from the whole meal.
I tried some of Catherine's Fettuccini Alfredo. This was one of those dishes where I would say $28 is a little bit much for it. If I paid $20 for this at like Olive Garden, I wouldn't have been upset, but yeah, you have the Disney tax, so I'm not absolutely offended that it was $28. I personally wouldn't spend that much money on a Fettuccine Alfredo. The flavors overall were pretty decent. It wasn't bland or flavorless. Shrimp were a little bit overcooked. They weren't rubbery, they weren't chewy. They just had kind of like a little more of a bite to them when you were chewing them. Overall, decent Fettuccine Alfredo. For my entree, I got the chicken parmesan, which is a lightly breaded chicken breast baked in Tony's marinara sauce, served with mozzarella and spaghetti. This chicken parmesan was pretty good for Disney standards. Does not live up to the chicken parmesan at Palo on the Disney cruise ships. You will never top that chicken parmesan anywhere. But for a $30 chicken parmesan, 100% worth it. I would get this again if I went to Tony's. The chicken breast I got with the chicken parm was really plump, it was juicy, it wasn't overcooked or dry. Marinara sauce, again, wasn't like overpowering. It didn't have like this metally tin taste that most people say that Tony's marinara sauce can have. Again, I thought it tasted more like a vodka sauce, which, not complaining. It was still very good. The only gripe I had with this dish was the spaghetti that it was served with. It was just a very pedestrian spaghetti, something I could make at home for $3. If I were to get this again, I would check to see if maybe I could substitute it for a different kind of pasta. I actually finished this whole chicken parmesan. It was that good. That kind of took me by surprise. We were going in with an open mind, but at the same time I'm thinking like Tony's, the bane of my existence. But no, I was pleasantly surprised at how good this chicken parm was.
I didn't get a chance to try any because Sean ate it all. That's how much he loved it.
Mine.
But I will take his word for it that it was really good because Sean is very picky when it comes to his chicken parm.
My experience with chicken parms in the past, minus the chicken parm on the Disney Cruise Line, has been it always tastes better as leftovers in the microwave, which shouldn't be the case for any chicken parm. I finished this whole thing, so just goes to show you, Tony's has been climbing the ladder.
For my dessert, I had the summer berry tiramisu. And this was mascarpone, mixed berries, and Chambord soaked ladyfingers, served in a cute little cup for $8.50, and this was delicious. This was probably my favorite dessert that I have had at Disney in a long time. I don't normally like tiramisu, just classic tiramisu, but when I saw that it was like a berry flavored tiramisu, I wanted something sweet but not overpowering for my dessert, so I decided to go with it. Pleasantly surprised. It was a very refreshing dessert. It wasn't too heavy. The berry flavor complemented the ladyfingers perfectly. I can't rave enough about it. Truthfully, like Sean said with the mozzarella, that if Tony's had a walk-up window for us to order food, we would be in line for this tiramisu and those fried mozzarella.
It was also really refreshing, oddly enough. Tiramisus can be really heavy when they're cream and coffee based.
Yep.
So when it's hot out, you really feel it for a while. This was not the case. I would have ordered a second one if it wasn't $8.50.
I thought it was worth the money.
It was worth $8.50, but I wouldn't have ordered two of them. And then for my dessert, I opted to go for the Flourless chocolate cake, which came with a pistachio cream, Luxardo cherries, and little cocoa nibs on top of the pistachio cream. This one was $9, so it was a little more on the expensive side for the desserts. Very well prepared. Flourless chocolate cakes can be extremely heavy and dense with chocolate flavor. That was kind of the case here, but the pistachio cream that came with it really broke down on that chocolate density. One thing though, the pistachio cream tasted nothing of pistachio. It tasted more like a sweet cold foam that you would order with a coffee from like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. But overall, a very nice, again, refreshing dessert. It came with 3 of those Luxardo cherries, which in my opinion were overly flavored. That kind of overtook anything else that was on the plate. I get Luxardo cherries are meant to have a lot of flavor for mixed drinks and certain desserts, but I wouldn't have chosen Luxardo cherries to serve with this. I would have rather preferred a more natural black cherry or Bing cherry to go along with it. Overall, desserts, A+. Disney misses on desserts quite a bit. Tony's, again, has really surprised us.
I would go back just for the appetizers and the desserts.
I would too. Entrees weren't any slouch either, but I would go back just for entrees and desserts. Now let's talk about the service we received at Tony's Town Square restaurant. The service was phenomenal. Signature restaurant level, rotational dining on classic Disney cruise ships level, phenomenal. Our server, Jordan, I think it was super attentive. He came around probably at least once every 5 minutes, refilling our sodas. Catherine had a Shirley Temple, and he just kept refilling those Shirley Temples up. And he came around every once in a while with this little tool to kind of clean up all of the crumbs that were on the table. Similar to what they do aboard the classic Disney cruise ships, something that was actually sorely lacking on the Disney Wish when we went last year. And that really surprised us.
I really noticed that he went above and beyond because even when like he would put the drinks down, if there was like a little bit of Sean's Diet Coke on the table when Sean moved his glass, he would come back and just wipe it off like it was never there. I have not seen that in a long time.
This is the first time in a long time I've been really blown away by the service at a Disney World restaurant.
Overall, Tony's Town Square restaurant completely surpassed our expectations.
Definitely. It took us by surprise, especially given its track record and its history at Walt Disney World. I was really kind of expecting something similar to like an Applebee's or Olive Garden experience. I was kind of taken aback at how well this restaurant was operated and how good of a quality the food was here.
And I can't say good enough things about the service. Jordan was just an excellent server. He was attentive, he made recommendations based on what we were ordering. I couldn't ask for a better experience just from that side of things.
Jordan reminds me of that old school 90s and early 2000s Disney cast member experience that we used to get across the board at Walt Disney World. Not something you really get too much of anymore. No hate to cast members by any means. You can tell that the management here at Tony's is doing something right. With everything that we had at Tony's after discount and before tip, it came to about $117. After trying everything that we had, was a little bit on the higher side, but I'm not upset that I spent that much money at Tony's. Tony's is back on my list of places that I would go out of my way to book a reservation for. We went to 4 different sit-down restaurants on our recent trip to Disney World. This was by far the best one that we had, which says a lot, because Tony's used to be the laughingstock of Walt Disney World.
If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Monorail Central for more Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, and Walt Disney World Monorail Project content.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all real soon.